Hey, what's up everybody? It's Jonathan and welcome to my full review of this, the HTC One M9. It's not a huge step forward from the M8, but it does feature some minor cosmetic changes, some different internals, and some software modifications. But is it worth your hard-earned cash? Well, in this video, I'm going to address my likes and dislikes, my overall personal opinions, and just my overall experience. So without further ado, let's get started. So when it comes to the design, the M9 is almost identical to the M8. In fact, if you're looking at it straight on, you're not going to notice a difference between the two handsets. The M9 is a little bit shorter than the M8, and then of course if you flip it over, the cameras are completely different. But also the M9 features a zero gap design, making its construction much more metal versus the M8, so you're going to get a more premium handset when you buy the M9. But people complained about this overlapping design on the edges, making it uncomfortable to hold and a little bit too sharp, but I really didn't see that when I was holding the handset, especially compared to the M8. I found the in-the-hand feel to be almost identical, and it really didn't bother me at all. Now the M9 also features more brush marks on the back, and it's a little bit different texture, giving it a better grip versus the slippery texture found on the M8. And it's also available in a new two-tone color, which personally, my personal opinion on this is it's ugly. I don't like the whole gold silver mix thing. They should have just picked silver and been done with it, or just picked gold and been done with it. I don't like the two-toned. So let's go ahead and begin a quick tour around the device. On the left-hand side, you're going to find your nano SIM card slot. On the right-hand side, you're going to find your micro SD card slot, which is expandable up to 128 gigs. Below that, you have your volume up and down buttons, and then below that, you have your power button. Now, I do have a problem with this whole button layout thing. I wish they would have just left it alone or moved the volume up and down buttons to the left-hand side and then put the power button on the right-hand side. Because a lot of the times when I think I'm hitting the power button, I'm actually hitting the volume down button, or if I think I'm hitting the volume down button, I'm accidentally hitting the power button. I just get the two confused. Even though the power button is a little bit textured compared to the volume down button, it's still not enough tactility going on to make me differentiate the two. So moving up to the top of the phone, you're going to find a big black strip, and that's actually your IR blaster. On the bottom, you have a micro USB port with your 3.5mm headphone jack. Then on the back of the phone, you're going to find your 20 megapixel camera with dual LED flash, some antenna lines, the HTC logo, and then of course if you have a tramp stamp, you'll find your carrier logo as well. On the front, you have your Boomsound speakers with a hidden LED notification light behind the top one, and then your bottom one houses the microphone as well. Then you have your 5-inch 1080p Super LCD display, which I will cover in just a moment. So before we move on to the display, I just want to talk about the Boomsound speakers. They sound fantastic, just like they always have, and by far they are the best stereo speakers on any mobile device. Except now they come with Dolby Audio, and you have the choice between theater mode and music mode. Generally, I just leave it in music mode because to me, theater mode is a bit gimmicky and you get more distortion, and it tries to emulate surround sound, but surround sound on a mobile device is a bit of a joke considering you need speakers in all different directions to actually have surround sound. So my personal advice would just to be leave it in music mode, be done with it, have minimal distortion and great sound. With the release of the M7 and then the M8, there's one thing HTC always nailed, and that was their display. The M9 carries this on with a 5-inch Super LCD panel with a PPI of 441. Granted, HTC didn't jump on board the whole Quad HD train. It still features a 1080p panel, but it looks awesome. Has very sharp text, nice accurate colors, great viewing angles, and overall it's a pleasure to use. So whether you're browsing the web, reading, or just watching your favorite YouTube videos, you're going to have a great experience. One thing to note though is that my display ran a little bit cooler, but I only noticed it on screens that had a lot of whites in them, and I actually had to look for it. If you're not looking for it, you probably won't even notice it. So again, the display on the HTC M9 is fantastic. One of the reasons why I think HTC chose to go with the 1080p panel over Quad HD is to preserve battery life, and they did a pretty good job. The HTC M9 features a 2,840 mAh battery, and overall I get between 4 to 4.5 hours screen on time. The only way I can tell this is I unplug my device around 7:30 in the morning, and by about 5:30 I have 20 to 25% left. And then I downloaded an app from the Play Store to show how much screen on time I was getting, and it's anywhere between 4 to 4.5 hours. Unfortunately, there's no true way to tell with the factory settings, but HTC does include a very detailed battery graph so you can determine which apps are sucking the life out of your battery. It does feature some power saving modes though, so if you are in a tight situation and you need some extra battery life, just turn on the power saving mode feature and it should help with that. So let's move on to the internals of the M9. It features the new Qualcomm Snapdragon 810 processor with 3GB of RAM and the Adreno 430 for graphics. And needless to say, this thing is fast. It performed well on the Geekbench test, as you can see, and just the overall performance and day-to-day task is extremely snappy, and I really did not run into too much lag. Now, every once in a while I do get an app closing, but that has nothing to do with the internals. That's more software-based, which I'll cover in just a moment. But as far as performance goes, this thing is buttery smooth and is extremely quick. Now, one thing I will note though is that the back panel gets pretty hot over extensive periods of time. So if you're doing a lot of extensive tasks or gameplay, you will notice the back panel of the M9 will heat up fairly quickly, and it does get pretty hot, and you might have to set it down to let it cool off. Now, I did not get any overheating notice, but like I said, it definitely does get a bit warm on the back panel. So with the improved software experience, you're getting a better UI, a flatter look, and still ugly as sin icons. And I really can't help it. If you pull down your notification center and take a look at the quick toggles, you know exactly what I mean. But HTC has done a way to fix this by introducing themes, at least for your icons, maybe not the quick toggles. You can go into themes and find a theme you want, download it, apply it. It will change your icons, your font, your colors. It even changes blink feed, and it also changes your sounds. They did a great job at implementing themes, so much that I was super impressed. I was thinking Samsung was going to have way more themes coming straight out of the box, and HTC just blew me away with the amount of options they actually have. And it still stays buttery smooth. So a thumbs up for HTC for increasing the customization of Sense. Sense 7.0 carries over the lock screen that we're all too familiar with by giving you the ability to quickly launch the apps that are located on your home screen dock on your lock screen. So if you need to access your phone, just throw it in the dock on your home screen, and then it will appear on the lock screen. You can just swipe it up, and then you can quickly launch your phone. It works well, and it does a great job for what it does. You also have the Smart Lock feature, which is a feature built into Lollipop, and it detects if your phone is connected to a Bluetooth device. And then instead of you having to put in a passcode or a swipe gesture, you can actually just unlock your phone as long as you're connected to that Bluetooth device. The M9 also supports gestures, so if your screen is turned off, a double tap will turn the screen on, or a swipe up will instantly unlock your device, unless of course you have to put in a passcode. If you lift your phone up in landscape mode and then hold down the volume button, it will instantly launch your camera. There's a few other little gestures that you can turn on in the settings portion of your phone. So let's talk about the camera on the M9. HTC has always been plagued by having fantastic build quality and an overall great experience, and then a poor camera. Well, the M9 is definitely no different. Even though it does feature a different sensor and a better camera, technically, that's what HTC says, featuring 20 megapixels with the Ultrapixel camera moving around to the front. The 20 megapixel camera on the back does a very poor job. It overexposes a lot. The 4K video to me isn't the best, especially compared to some of the other smartphones on the market, or even a 1080p video from an iPhone compared to a 4K video from the HTC M9. I don't know. I don't like the M9 camera. It overexposes, the white balance is usually off, and then for low light photos and low light video, it's terrible. You have to have really good lighting, and even if you're in really good lighting, it still tends to overexpose. Just take a look at some of the samples here. You might have noticed that some of the video footage is extremely shaky, and that's because it doesn't feature optical image stabilization unlike the M7. You see, they never carried it over to the M8 and then they never brought it back in the M9, unfortunately. And then the whole software stabilization does a very poor job. In fact, I think it's completely turned off whenever you record in 4K anyways. So some of the pictures that I took looked fantastic. It captures great detail, and then you can really crop and zoom in thanks to the 20 megapixels. However, the chances of you getting a great photo are about 1 in 5, and that's really bad, especially with the overexposing it does, and then that white balance problem, and sometimes it just really oversaturates the colors. So the front-facing camera is now that 4 ultrapixel camera that was found on the rear of the M8, and it does an okay job at capturing selfies. The detail isn't there since it's only 4 ultrapixels, and then of course it overexposes still, and then the image processing is terrible. So here's a quick clip showcasing the quality of the front-facing camera, as well as giving you a demonstration of what the microphone picks up when you record video.
So I'm actually just testing out the front-facing camera in different lighting environments in my front yard using the HTC M9. And you can see it has a difficult time catching up with exposure, so sometimes I go dark and then I can go light again depending on the lighting behind me and of course the lighting that's hitting me. And right now it's dusk, so the sun is setting and it's actually pretty good lighting, and it's still overexposing like crazy. I don't know how the audio is coming out, so this will be a treat for both of us, but the overall image quality, of course skin tones don't look too bad. Looking at the live view on my screen, the white balance looks a bit off, and of course the overexposure is terrible. The light behind me up in the skies is completely blown out, but nonetheless this is an example and sample of the front-facing camera using the HTC M9. And I'll take a couple pictures real quick as well.
So the camera app has also simplified, but you still have your manual controls for exposure, your white balance, and your ISO, and then you have different shooting modes, but you only have 3 coming straight out of the box, but you can download more if you want more. So it's very simplified, and they've done a great job at just tidying things up and making it look a bit more cleaner. I'm using the M9 on the T-Mobile network, and when it comes to call quality, I've experienced no problems at all. There's no distortion, echo, feedback, or any kind of static whenever I'm making or receiving a phone call. The person on the other end can hear me loud and clear, and of course I can hear that person crystal clear as well. So in conclusion, the HTC M9 is a great phone when it comes to build quality and looking at it on paper. It features an improved software experience with Lollipop and Sense 7.0, and if you don't like the way it looks cosmetically, you can easily change it with themes or download a custom launcher like Nova Launcher and then apply a custom icon pack. In more ways than one, I feel like HTC went backwards with the M9 rather than progressing, and this includes battery life. Yes, it is okay and it gets me through a full day, but it's a downgrade from last year's model. The same thing can be said with image quality. Despite it having a 20 megapixel camera, I feel like images are not coming out as clear as they did last year. This could be a little bit of a software issue, but it's definitely mostly hardware. In terms of build quality, yes, it does have better build quality, but it's hardly noticeable. So at this point, if you have an M8, I definitely don't recommend you wasting your money on an M9. They're about the same. So either wait till the updated model to the M9 or look at a different phone altogether. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it helped you make your decision. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comment section. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Follow me on all my social media connections, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.